hit the button on Twitter. All right, we are live on Twitter. What is up, guys?
What's going on, Twitter world? Twitterverse. It's our second go at a live stream on Twitter, so we hope this goes smoothly. It's the first time we've used a particular video software, so bear with us if there's any kind of audio or video technical difficulties. It's the first time we've used these guys, so we're hoping for the best. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. And, make sure you comment. You can use the hashtag BLBS Nation during the show. And now we are live on YouTube as well. What is up, YouTubers?
Man, we are all over the place right now. Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live. It's amazing what all you can do from a little bedroom in a townhome.
Yeah, right?
We are everywhere.
We are expanding, guys, and it's all thanks to you.
Yeah.
And we'll put it out there. We'll mention it during the show, but, we got some good news.
Some good news.
Good news.
Yeah, things we've been talking about coming to fruition, so excited about that for sure.
Right.
Episode 63, we're getting ready to go live for you guys that are on YouTube and Twitter. Got a big show for you. Got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. So stay tuned with us. Crack a beer, crack a cold drink, sit back, and drop any comments or any questions that you may have for us. We'll get to as many of them as we possibly can. Scott, I'm ready to kick this thing off whenever you are.
All right. You ready?
All right. What's up, Birdland BSers? Fred and Scott, it's episode 63. It's Tuesday, September 18th. This week, the Ravens get mauled by the Bengals. The Broncos ride into town. The Terps stumped against Temple. And the lack of interest in our birds. Stay tuned.
It's that time, so let's take it to the Birdland. That Baltimore home flavor is coming firsthand. Fred, Scott, and Ryan, tell them the word, man. Mixing a little BS to make it work, man. Boys, they got it. On excitement, the topic. Make sure when they toss you the ball, you don't drop it. With all that swag, you're gonna listen regardless. Here comes the pitch, so it's time to get it started. It's Birdland BS.
What's up, BSers?
What's up, guys?
Fred and Scott in studio, episode 63, calling this one a Bengal beatdown. Things did not go as planned this past week with the Bengals. We're going to get into that here in a little bit. I got a big show for you, some exciting announcements. Don't forget, for you guys out there on Facebook, we've got the contest going with 1,000 views, so be sure to like and comment, but more importantly, share the post. It's how we get our views up. And if we get over 1,000 views on the Facebook feed, we're gonna do a Birdland BS swag giveaway, shirt and some other things, stickers and magnets.
I'll tell you what. I'm gonna flip this now.
Yeah,
We get 1,000 views on any platform. We're on 3 platforms as of today. We are on YouTube Live, we are on Periscope / Twitter Live, and we are on Facebook Live. So any one of those hits 1,000, it's a swag bag for somebody. And I'll tell you what, it's a swag bag for each platform that hits it.
Yeah, I like it.
So share this, guys. We want to grow this. We want to reward you guys for helping us grow. So share.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, we got to get into the quick news for us.
Yeah.
We have secured a sponsor.
Yeah. And all thanks to you guys. Trust me, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. We wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. But you guys help us continue to grow week in and week out. And, yeah, as Scott said, we were able to secure a sponsor, which will start with our first episode in October. So we're super excited. Scott, this is somebody you know personally and have dealt with personally. And a lot of you out there in Birdland, if you're an Orioles fan, you'll be real familiar with who this is.
Yeah, you definitely will. It's very, very well-known person when it comes to fans.
Mm-hmm.
So reaching out and getting that sponsorship for us, really nice. And, I'll come into play because, like you said, I've got some personal experience and, like that'll be coming soon. So It'll be as soon as they get us the stuff.
Yeah.
You guys are going to see it. So it'll be hopefully it'll be no later than the first week of October. Let's just leave it at that.
Excited, man.
So, but let's get into what everybody wants to talk about. It's a little bit of stale news at this point because it's been over a week, or almost a week, I should say, since the Ravens played.
Yeah.
Horrible loss to the Bengals.
Yeah, Ravens lose to the Bengals 34-23 on Thursday Night Football in what was an ugly, ugly showing for the Ravens, both offensively and defensively. Man, where do you start with this game? Really, for me, I think the biggest disappointment with this game, a lot of people, it's real easy to point the finger at Joe Flacco. It's real easy to point the finger at the secondary, with AJ Green having 3 touchdowns and all that stuff. Real easy to point the finger at that. But I think the biggest telling story in this game was the line play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both on the offensive line and the defensive line. This was a game we talked about going into it last week where the Bengals offensive line was kind of a makeshift offensive line, and at least on the right side, seemed to be pretty weak.
Everybody was questioning. I mean, not even just us. I mean, national media was questioning how long can their O-line stay together and be able to have any protection for Andy Dalton.
Right. And, for our offensive line, I think all of us kind of went into week one scratching our heads with the makeshift offensive line that John Harbaugh put together out there week one, leaving Orlando Brown out of the starting lineup. He goes with the same formation here week 2 against the Bengals, and we get to see their true colors. The defensive line for the Bengals basically had their way with our offensive line. Joe Flacco really had no time.
Yeah, no, absolutely not at all. I mean, look, I don't know if you saw the thing with Skip Bayless going off about Flacco on Undisputed.
I saw a little bit of it, but he is so annoying to me. I can't listen to him for more than 30 seconds without turning it off.
He is a little he's very opinionated. Some of it is
Talks
BS.
Out the wrong side of his body.
Yeah, but for me, I thought it was interesting, and Shannon Sharp was very vocal on it as well, saying, Flacco has been underperforming for so many years. You have a 5-year contract. They have 1 year that that they get into the playoffs out of them. Outside of that, they've been struggling, this and that. One thing I've got to say for anybody that is able to understand, and I'm sorry, let me phrase that. Anybody that is not able to understand what's happening, when you don't have protection, Joe is a pocket passer. I don't think anybody would disagree or refute that.
Absolutely not.
And if you do, you're not watching, paying attention. But when you have a pocket passer, what do you have to provide him?
Time.
You have to provide him a pocket.
Oh, that too, right.
They don't.
I know.
Look at how much the Bengals defensive line was in on Joe.
Oh, yeah.
They were getting to him like crazy.
Yeah, they were pushing him 3 and 4 feet back with ease and getting around our offensive line with no problems, creating all kinds of issues for Flacco. Look, I don't want to be a Flacco apologist. I don't want to be a homer by any kind of means or anything like that. Flacco looked awful the first quarter. The first quarter of play, he was off his mark on pretty much all his throws.
He was missing guys that were wide open.
Yeah, it's again, I know sports and a lot of things can be mental, and obviously there's something to Flacco and his ability to play in that stadium. He always struggles against the Bengals in Cincinnati. Yes, last year we were lucky enough to get in there and win on a shutout performance, but that was more to the defense.
Anybody know if he's got an ex-girlfriend in Cincinnati or something?
Something's going on with him in Cincy, but he does not play his best football. And in that first quarter, he looked like the old Joe Flacco. Everything that all the the haters out there want to throw Flacco under the bus. But I'll say this and pump the brakes a little bit on it with Flacco. The answer is not Lamar Jackson at this point. I know everybody's excited to see him. I'm not excited with this Lamar Jackson package crap that we keep running out there. They want to label it as a package, but when they bring him out there, they're doing the same thing with him play after play. I mean, he's been out there maybe 10 or 15 times now in the past 2 games.
Yeah.
He's basically run the same bullcrap formations. Flacco's basically out there as just a traffic cone standing there. I mean, he's not doing,
he doesn't move.
He doesn't do anything. I mean, everybody sees what's coming. I don't like the way that they're utilizing him with that. So Skip Bayless, like you mentioned, kind of got into that as well. I think it's too gimmicky. If you're going to use him like that, switch things up a little bit. How about you let him throw the ball a little bit? You know, teams are going to stack the box and all that stuff against him. And of course he's not. I don't care how good he is on his feet. This is the NFL. Yeah. These guys are all the best of the best. These are the fastest linebackers, the fastest offensive linemen, the fastest safeties that you're going to find in the world. And yes, Lamar Jackson's a freakish athlete, but if they know, hey, a run's coming.
Right, exactly.
Much easier to stop than if you change it up and actually use him for what he is. He's a quarterback. You drafted him. You said he is a quarterback.
Right, exactly.
Right now, you're using him as a running back, a wing T type quarterback, which we ran the wing T in high school, and it was very much a run-first offense. And the quarterback, you know, this option stuff where he would typically hold on to the ball and try to make something with his feet. It's a gimmicky offense. It's why it doesn't work. It's why you don't see it in the NFL anymore. It's because it just does not work.
No, and it also breaks the flow, you know, of your quarterback. Actually, Troy just said that on YouTube. You're right, Troy. It's breaking the flow of the quarterback, and it's not just Joe. It's breaking the flow of anybody. Now, you know, I know they've done wildcat offenses with other guys, and you know they brought up Tom Brady and everything during the Undisputed session. But the problem with that is Tom Brady's job secure. Mm-hmm. Joe Flacco right now is not. So that's the last thing you want to have happening is you got to go stand out here while the guy that may be the future of this team just runs the ball and everybody on the field, everybody in the stands knows it.
Yeah.
So to your point, you've got to get a guy out there and you've got to throw it to him.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't be predictable on offense. You can't be predictable on defense. There's got to be variety. And when you're just using him in certain situations, whether it be in red zone situations and all you're using him for is to run the ball, they're going to stack the box and they're going to stop that all day long. You're going to end up getting the kid hurt.
Yeah, you're going to get him seriously hurt. And if it doesn't help, it doesn't help the fact of how he's playing. You know, we saw it in preseason with the slide, the non-slide, I should say, you know, diving for the first down and almost in the fetal position, almost getting killed. And then the end zone flip, he's going to have a target on his back.
Right.
So you've got to make sure that you're not putting him at risk like that.
Well, talking about this game specifically with the Bengals, obviously there were three things that were a factor in this game. The three biggest factors, the line play that we talked about, obviously the struggles with Joe Flacco, you know, in the first quarter.
Yeah.
But then the third thing was getting behind as quickly and as fast as they did, because when you fall behind like that in the first quarter, you're behind 3 scores. It changes your entire game plan as an offense.
It does.
And now you're asking Flacco to throw the ball 55 times like he did in this game, and that has proven throughout his career to never be a winning solution. You cannot ask Flacco to throw the ball 55 times and expect this team to win.
You've got to have a balance for Flacco. You have to.
You have to have a balanced offense, period
yeah.
to win. And the lack of use of the run game has been really alarming to me. I mean, not using Alex Collins, which going into this season, before the start of the season, all they talked about was wanting to get back to the roots of Ravens football and being a run-first offense and you know, using Flacco to come off the run. Well, that's not what they're doing here.
No.
But I understand it to a degree because the games haven't dictated it, right? So the first game was a complete blowout. There was rain, you know, Flacco was in a rhythm, you know, they basically won the game by the second quarter.
Right, exactly.
So I understood the first game. Second game, again, they fall behind by 3 scores and they're playing catch up the entire game, which they did eventually kind of get themselves back into contention. It was 28-23 at one point. So they did end up getting themselves back into contention, but the winning formula for this team is not a pass-first offense. The winning formula for this team, if they're going to win football games, is going to be a run-first offense, and they've got to get Alex Collins and Buck Allen in the running game involved more.
It has to be more dynamic. If it's not more dynamic, you're not going to get the results that you want to see.
Right.
So, dynamic is the name of the game when it comes to them, and they've really got to show that. On the other side of the ball, though, the Ravens' defense, they were on their heels the first half.
It was atrocious.
It was. I think Aikman said it perfectly. They were on their heels, and Dalton and the Bengals were not letting off at all.
Big thing, C.J. Mosley goes down early with the injury, and you could see it right away. There was confusion on the field. You had players calling plays that normally don't call plays. You had Pat Onwuasor making play calls in the huddle, which he normally doesn't make them. They eventually got that switched out to Eric Weddle, which you don't really typically see a safety calling plays. Somebody who's on the back end of a play might be 20, 30 yards down the field. It's got to come all the way back upfield to make play calls. You lose your center of your defense, your captain of your defense, who's maybe putting linemen in position that are sitting out of position. I mean, 100 times you'll see it during a game where a linebacker will come up and smack a guy on his side and tell him to slide over and that kind of thing. You weren't seeing that with this team. So as much as we like to complain about C.J. Mosley and his ability to cover in the pass game, what he brings just from a leadership standpoint, from an intelligence standpoint, you could see it was glaring not having him out in the field.
But you know what? To me, that falls on Harbaugh because that tells me you didn't plan for this.
Oh, I agree with that.
You should have been. This is something that should be in the playbook that says, "Hey, Mosley goes down or this guy goes down. Here's the backup plan. Here's who's doing it." And that person should be studying exactly what Mosley was.
Right.
They should be in the room. You think the backup QB's in the other room while the QB's studying? No. He should be in that room with him. Lamar, RG3. You notice that with RG3? He's a backup. Where is he at? Every time Joe Flacco's on the bench watching on the surface, that's where he's at.
Yeah.
That's what your backup linebackers need to do. That's what your backup safeties need to do. They need to be in there watching film so that if something happens like that, you're planned for it. And
it's seamless. You want it to be a seamless transition from one player to another.
Even if it's just for a play or two.
Right.
That's Absolutely. All it takes.
I mean, eventually they did get it settled down. They were able to get it figured out, and like I said, Weddle was able to get in there and make the play calls and all that stuff. They got it to work, but you could see it right away. The first few plays of that was just a mess. They didn't know what was going on. They looked confused. But like you said, I mean, the secondary in particular played on their heels pretty much the entire game. Part of that is due to the lack of pass rush. Again, we go back to the line play. You know, Cincinnati's offensive line dominated our defensive line.
He had a pocket all day. That's why he was able
to throw. I mean, and that was something that was you'd have thought was going to be a sore point for Cincinnati, was going to be able to stop the pass rush that we had and being able to deal with, our bigger D tackles in the middle of that defense. But it was absolutely no problem. Even after they lost their starting rookie center, their backups came in there, and it was like no problem.
Yeah, no
issues.
It was ridiculous how much our offensive line was getting run over, and how much we weren't able to run over their offensive line. It was as if we switched offensive lines for the game.
Yeah,
because that was what was projected, was that our pass rush was going to get to Dalton all day long.
Yep.
I think on the pregame, 3 of the 4 panelists said the Ravens are going to win this. And the Ravens are going to win it by, I think most of them said a score.
Yeah.
Whether it was 3 points or 6 points or 7 points, it was by a score. And then we can't get to him. We can't touch him.
Yeah,
and we couldn't touch him before, even when Mosley was on the field, we couldn't touch him.
Right. And when you're going through your struggles with the secondary, when you can't get pressure on the quarterback, that just puts more pressure on your secondary to have to cover longer. And we saw that. I mean, we saw Tavon Young probably have one of his worst games as a professional. He was burned and caught out of position a few different times, one of which was on an A.J. Green touchdown. Another one was on a long gain by A.J. Green. Weddle Weddle had a rough game. A few times where we talked about this in the chat, and I know you kind of have a difference in opinion on this, but Weddle was caught out of position in the sense that he took bad routes, kind of like an outfielder takes bad routes to a ball in the outfield. Weddle, same thing. At some point you got to come to grips that he's lost a bit of a speed, a little bit of a step. So you have to make adjustments to that in the way that you approach your route and with the way you're coming in on a tackle, and caught a little out of position on a big gain by AJ Green.
I hate to tell you on that call that you're talking about. And that's why I kind of like toned down on the chat, because Weddle had no chance. There was no route Weddle could have taken to get to AJ Green. AJ Green is faster. You just said Weddle's lost a step. Okay, yeah, he's got to move over. But guess what? He couldn't move over because your defensive line couldn't stop AJ Green when you got Terrell Suggs, and I forget who else was covering him. It might have been Jefferson coming up and covering AJ Green. There was no reason for him to even get to Weddle in the first place or even back into the secondary. And then he's taking a line that AJ Green does have a step on him. There was no route that he could have taken to stop AJ Green from getting in. Because I tell you what, the route that everybody is saying that he could have taken, which would have been a sharper route, he takes that sharper route. All AJ Green has to do is sidestep one step, and he's got a clear lane again.
I mean, I agree with that, but at the sense that's the risk you got to take, because at that point, where the angle that he took, he had no chance of getting AJ Green and no chance of getting a tackle. He takes the other route. He takes the under route. Yes, he has a chance of, like you said, sidestepping him, and it's a touchdown, not a long gain. It's a touchdown, but he also has a chance at stopping a big play. And when you're already down 2 scores like that, you got to do whatever you can to stop them on a third down. I think the bigger picture here is, and the thing that kind of maybe caught the Ravens a little bit off guard, was that Cincinnati was using AJ Green in the slot. That's not something that you traditionally see with AJ Green, is him playing in the slot. He's usually an outside guy. So I think that was part of it. But again, the bigger issue here is the line not getting pressure and causing these corners to have to cover longer. And
right,
we saw the ramifications of that. It does not end well.
Right. Well, and two, we're talking about a lot about the front, the front side of the defense, the back side of the defense. You brought up Tavon Young when you and I were talking with the safety play. What were you seeing out of him?
Well, that's what I was just saying a minute ago. It's probably the worst game I've seen him play in his professional career. He was out of position a couple different times where he got burned, where, again, it was either, he read routes wrong or he misstepped. Either way, he was out of position, and it was, like I said, one of his worst games that we've ever seen him play in coverage.
Right.
This was a guy that in his first week back against Buffalo had a big game. I mean, he was all over the field, had a couple sacks. I mean, was great in coverage. Now we're talking Andy Dalton versus Nate Peterson, Peterman or whatever. So, I mean, yeah, there's a big difference there, but still pretty disappointing game for Tavon Young. Disappointing game for the team as a whole. Yes, they were able, again, to get kind of back into this, into it at the end there, got within 28 to 23, but eventually gave up the last score there to lose 34-23. Again, the answer is not Flacco throwing 55 times. He was 32 of 55 for 376 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 big interceptions. The stats sound like they're okay other than the 2 interceptions, but this team, if you go back and look at the stats, he has never won a game in his career when he's thrown the ball that many times.
Yeah,
if he throws over 45 times, he does not win in the NFL. It's not the answer. It's not what we need to do moving forward. Again, hopefully this week, the Broncos come to town and we can get the running game going. Collins and Allen had a combined 15 carries for 43 yards between the two of them. That's awful.
It was ridiculous.
That's not winning football. That's not what's going to work for this team. Again, we've got the Broncos coming home this week. Broncos come in 2-0, riding high on the Case Keenum train, which I was not high on the signing of Case Keenum in Denver. I thought that maybe they should have gone the Kirk Cousins route. I thought he would have been a better fit in Denver's offense, but Who am I? Apparently don't know anything about it, and I'm glad. I guess I'm not the GM in Denver.
I don't think anybody knows anything about football right now with all the games that have been played.
That's true. I mean, there's been a lot of craziness going on in the NFL, a lot of things that that are just completely catching people off guard. Teams that are playing that are 2-0, the Buccaneers, the Dolphins. Who would have ever predicted they'd be 2-0 at this point in the season? But that's the beauty part of the NFL. It's the beauty part of the parity, and you just never know on any given Sunday. You know, you never know.
That's the name of the game. I mean, right. Look at the game between the Packers and the Vikings, ending in a tie. Second tie we've seen. Week 2 ties already.
Yeah, so that brings up another point. Why are there still ties in the NFL? College has got it figured out. They go to this, like sudden death playoff, system where they start the ball at the 25-yard line, and you get a drive from the 25-yard line. You either kick a field goal or you get a touchdown, and then it goes to the other team, and the other team has a chance to score, and you go to a second overtime. That's more. There needs to be a definitive winner or loser in football. I think the whole tie thing.
I don't disagree with that.
Is ridiculous. I know part of it's probably due to money. It's probably due to TV constraints and all that kind of stuff. But eliminate the whole overtime quarter. Eliminate the quarter and just go to the college football playoff system.
Right.
It's proven to work. And, it takes away this whole tie situation, especially when you're only talking about a 16-game season. When it comes down to deciding who's the division winner and all that stuff, a tie shouldn't do that.
No, a tie shouldn't break it. It should be, whoever has the best record. I mean, then it goes. You still have the whole piece of conference wins. So division wins. So that helps.
James brings up a good point. They wouldn't have any ties if they had better kickers, and that's for sure. And the sad part about that, James, go on a rant here for a second, but one of my fantasy football teams, and I'm not even sure what it might be. It's our league. It's the Birdland BS league. I had started the season with Dan Bailey on the team, and obviously couldn't make a pickup or couldn't make a drop until after week 1, so I had to go without a kicker week 1. I pick up Minnesota's kicker for week 2, and he misses 4 field goals in that game. He gets me 2 fantasy points.
By the way, did you drop Dan Bailey?
I did. I dropped Dan Bailey, and then I just put a waiver claim in to pick him back up for week 3. Oh, man, my season with kickers has not been fun. But, yeah, so, yes, I totally agree. If they actually had kickers that could make field goals, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation. But nonetheless, whether they've got them or not, I just think the whole tie situation needs to go away. The NFL, that's something that they should address. But, yeah, again, getting back to the Broncos coming to town, if the Ravens had trouble stopping the pass rush with Cincy, I don't know what the hell we're going to do when Von Miller and Bradley Chubb come into town this week. It could be a long game for Flacco.
Have you heard anything on why Zeus wasn't playing?
The only thing that I've heard is that he might not be the brightest between the ears, that he's having a hard time picking up the playbook, that he's having a hard time.
Sure as hell didn't look like it during preseason.
It didn't to me either. And I don't know if that's just because in the preseason they run a pretty vanilla offense because they don't like to show too much and that kind of thing, and it gets a little bit more complex during the season. But honestly, that's the only thing that I've heard about him, is that he hasn't been able to learn the playbook as fast as they had hoped.
Is it going to be any worse than what we saw this past week?
At that point, just tell him, you're blocking right, you're blocking left, whatever you got to do. I mean, the offensive line was in dire straits last week, and we all knew having James Hurst on the right side was not our best option. And
nobody liked it.
It's still not our best option. That's something that needs to be addressed, hopefully this week. Hopefully we'll see him out there, because like I said, Bradley Chubb and Von Miller, all due respect to Khalil Mack, I think Khalil Mack is one of the most elite defensive pass rushers in this league. Von Miller is a step better, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
So you're talking the elite of elite in pass rushers coming to town with Von Miller. And then you've got a rookie in Bradley Chubb, who I was really high on. I don't know if you remember us talking about it during the draft
when we
episode.
did it during the draft. I remember that.
Yeah, there was a guy that I had my eye on that people were saying might fall down to the Ravens. I'm like, oh, my God, if this guy falls to the Ravens somehow, please get him. Would be the perfect replacement for Terrell Suggs when Terrell Suggs decides to hide it up, or hang it up. Unfortunately, he went to Denver, and now we've got to deal with this week 3.
Yeah, no, it's... We were questioning some of the moves during the draft. Look, some of the guys we got, we like, but that was one that you and I were both like, this could be a guy that could really change the tempo. But the problem is they went more offense this year. That was that was the clear slate on it.
It was the bigger need. I get why they did what they did in the draft, but either way, this guy would have been a gem to get that late.
Yeah. Well, speaking of other rookies they've got, how about Freeman and Lindsey with the rushing attack?
Yeah. Lindsey's actually 3rd or 4th, I believe, in the NFL in yardage right now. This is an undrafted Lindsey, an undrafted rookie that Harbaugh made comments on today that the Ravens actually had an eye on him and were trying to bring him in as an undrafted rookie running back. But ended up going to Denver, obviously won a roster spot there, and is doing big things down there in Denver. And Freeman was a guy that I thought he could be an every down type of back in this league coming out of Oregon. I thought he'd have a big season, but the only reason that he's not carrying the ball 20 to 30 times in a game is because they've got this kid, Lindsey, that's doing really, really good down there. That's a two-headed monster that's going to create problems for this team.
Yeah, especially if they showed them what the what the key was to taking on the Ravens defense, it's going to be nonstop.
Yeah,
because then it's going to just open it up for Keenum to be able to burn our safeties deep or burn the cornerback. I don't even know what the hell happened in last game, but it looked like we were getting burned. Yeah. So if they just gave the playbook to everybody for the rest of the season, it'd be a long season for this defense.
Yeah, no, the defense needs to clean it up. Whether you're at home or you're on the road, this defense has to play better. We're hoping C.J. Mosley, look, I had my knee injury. I tore my ACL, my MCL, my LCO, so I know how knee injuries are. Did you see the injury to C.J. Mosley? Did you see the play?
Yes.
A bone bruise.
Didn't look like a bone bruise to me.
How? How does a bruise happen on a non-contact play? I mean, he hurdled over a player laying on the ground, didn't really jump that high, just jumped over him so he didn't trip over him, and landed kind of awkwardly, which to me, the way he landed looked like, I'm no doctor or anything like that.
Looked like it was ankle or something.
Looked like, it did look like knee, but it looked like, if anything, it would have been like a sprain to the knee. Just same way you roll your ankle, kind of roll into your knee, and but a bone bruise doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But again, I'm no doctor, and there's a guy on Twitter, I can't think of his handle now. He used to be a team doctor for the Ravens.
Begins with a C, I think.
Choi or Chow or something like that. Yeah. I was following him, and he was kind of giving updates in his medical opinion, and he went right into, he thought it was a bone bruise from just watching it. So little do I know, but nonetheless, they're saying that he may be out a few weeks now, but they haven't really given a concrete number to it. He was saying anywhere in the neighborhood of 3, maybe even 4 weeks. I guess it just kind of depends on the severity of it, but that could hurt.
I hope it's not that severe. I don't know what we're going to do at that point.
And James chimes in and says, yeah, it's more than what the Ravens are saying. I agree. A lot of times when the Ravens are super quiet like this and they're not putting a number to it, maybe either A, they've learned from their past mistakes by putting a number to something and then players not coming back for the rest of the season. They just don't want to do that. Or B, like you said, James, the Ravens know more than what they're saying, and this could be more serious. Obviously, in related news, the Ravens signed Albert McClellan back to the roster, which I was kind of scratching my head in the beginning why he didn't make the roster to begin with. As important as he is to the special teams and the depth that he gives them at middle linebacker. But either way, they do bring Albert McClellan back in to kind of help put a Band-Aid over the wound, and that's exactly what he is. He's going to be a Band-Aid to it. But I like him much better out there than I do Pat Owansu. He has not looked good. Kenny Young, on the other hand, has looked good. He showed progression week 1 to week 2. I really like what I see out of him, but we need that run-stopping type linebacker in the middle of the field, and I think Albert McClellan can be that guy.
Yeah, no, I like the signing. I like the pickup. He was a guy that I originally, think back when we were coming up with our 53-man roster, he was a guy that I thought was going to make the team.
Right.
So,
all right, well, let's get into and this is a segment that Ryan and I did last year and kind of got away from it last week, didn't think about it last week, so I want to bring it back for this season. We're going to do our NFL predictions, NFL primetime predictions. First, we're going to do our predictions for this week's Ravens game. Again, Broncos come to town 2-0, Ravens at home, 1 o'clock game. Scott, how do you see this game going?
I think the Ravens win, but it's going to be a close one. I'll call it 23-21.
Okay, yeah, so you and I are pretty much on the same page. I think that this is a defensive showdown. This is gonna be a sloppy football game. I think Case Keenum gets roughed up. I think Case Keenum throws a couple interceptions. I think Flacco gets roughed up. I think Flacco throws a couple interceptions. I think it comes down to the wire here, and I think the Ravens win an ugly football game, 17-13 at home here in M&T.
You have it being a little bit lower scoring game.
Yeah, I don't see this being a high scoring game. It's definitely going to be more of a defensive football game. We're not going to see the 30-some points or 40-some points like we saw week 1 against Buffalo, or even, in my opinion, the 23 points that we saw in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Thursday night football. What's tonight? Tonight's Tuesday, so 2 nights from now. Thursday night football, the Jets take on the 0-2 Browns, which the Browns, well, actually, no, I'm not 0-2. I'm sorry. They're 0-1-1. There's that tie thing again.
Yeah.
Right, that whole tie. Ugh. The Browns could very easily be 2-0 right now.
Yeah.
But they're the Browns.
They find a way.
And they're not.
They find a way.
They're 0-1 because they're the Browns.
They could use a kicker.
They could use a kicker, that's right. So the Jets go into Cleveland. Cleveland's at home. Sam Darnold has looked pretty good as a rookie. Had a big game against the Lions.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think the rookie hits a rookie wall this week. The one thing the Browns have looked really good is that they've looked good on defense. I think the Browns get their first win here in week 3. And I think that this is, again, another kind of low-scoring-ish, ugly game. I think the Browns win 23-19.
I got it even lower.
Okay.
I got this game being 9-12
Woo!
Browns.
9-12 Browns. Wow.
And neither of these teams going to be able to get off the ground. That's what I'm looking at.
And then what did I say? 23-19. All right. Sunday night football. The Patriots at Lions. I guess we haven't talked about this yet. So in most recent news, the Patriots have traded with the Browns for troubled wide receiver Josh Gordon. Hopefully he is not partying anywhere, celebrating this trade, because that's going to be the first thing that gets him suspended and right back out the NFL. But yeah, Patriots go to Detroit with Josh Gordon now in the fold as a deep threat wide receiver. I don't see this being much of a contest. I think Tom Brady kind of has his way in Detroit. Matt Stafford and that offense has not looked very good so far this season. Again, Matt Stafford needs time, needs a pocket, and his offensive line has not been able to give him that. I think we see a big game here from rookie running back Sony Michel, guy that I was really high on, again, coming out of Georgia. He played his first game last week, just kind of got his feet wet. I think we see a big game here. I got the Patriots winning this one in a landslide. I've got them winning 42-17.
We're not far off. I had them winning 39-21.
39-21 Pats. All right, and then we go to Monday night in what's going to be what I would have predicted in the very beginning of the season, before the season started, another landslide victory here. But Steelers go to Tampa Bay and take on the 2-0 Ryan Fitzpatrick-led Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. By the way, did you see the post-game interview with Ryan Fitzpatrick in the outfit that he was in?
You mean Deshaun Jackson's outfit?
Hilarious. They asked him, they said, what about your outfits real? He said the chest hair.
Exactly.
That was or not real.
Which part's yours? Because the chest hair's mine.
The chest hair's mine. Classic. First time I saw him when I was just flipping through the channels, I thought it was Conor McGregor, and I was like, what the hell is he? Is there another fight, or what's he talking about now? And then he had this like American accent. I'm like, that's not Conor McGregor at all. That's Ryan Fitzpatrick. Wow.
Yeah, no, I honestly looked the same thing. I was like, is what? And then you had to like, oh, okay.
35-year-old Ryan Fitzpatrick has kind of like remade his career down in there in Tampa Bay so far. The first 2 games of this season, he's had over 400 yards passing in his first 2 games. Pretty impressive. I don't know. The one thing that the Steelers can do is they can put up points. Ben Roethlisberger, he can throw the football, and he can throw it to anybody. Man, I got this going tight, but I do have the Steelers going down in Tampa Bay and winning this one. But I've got it 35-31 Steelers.
Wow. We're going different here.
All right.
I got the Bucs winning this.
Okay.
31-17. And here's why.
31-17.
Yeah.
Wow.
Guess who didn't show up for practice yesterday?
We're going to get into that in a little bit in the 2-minute warning. But yeah, I know it's
That's what I'm looking at.
Mr. Diva himself.
Look, I think that's going to play a huge role. The rest of the week is only time's going to tell, but who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, well, it's time for a social media shout out.
Social media.
We see you, Joe, Trish, James, of course, Nikki. What's up? Nick, good to see you, man. Never seen you in the live feed, so appreciate you coming in. Jamie, as usual, I'm sure you're downstairs. Sherry, appreciate you being in. I got 15 notifications all of a sudden before we went live. I'm like, what the hell just happened on our Facebook feed? Thanks for liking every single photo that we have on our page.
Yeah,
Sherry,
right.
So I appreciate that. Let's see. Who else I got on here? Jason. Hey, man, good to see you again. Mark Thrasher. Haven't seen you in a long time. I haven't talked to you. Good to see you. Nathaniel. Hey, good for you. Appreciate you tuning in. That's all I got on my end.
You pretty much hit everybody. I think you said Ryan. I think Facebook may have fixed their issue of not being able to see everybody on the feed. So, but YouTube wise, we've got Connor Burke, Troy, who we know.
Hey, what's up, Troy?
We've got Dudu. Dudu
Wrong
Unda
time
Dome.
to be taking a drink. Good Lord. What was that?
Dudu Unda Dome.
All right, Dudu. Appreciate you tuning in, man.
Or maybe they spelled Dudu, so I'm assuming that's going to be the case there. Cheesy Munchie also just chimed in. And then, I've got to hit. We have had a lot of people on the Twitter feed.
Nice.
Chiming in. I'm just going to spiel through these. I'm just going to do abbreviated. Sandeep, Real Jordan has been in and out the whole time. Guy we know, Josh Roca.
Yeah.
Young Our Boy Genius. Khalees Active. C. Hughes. A.B. Rogue. Bad Money Johnny. Josh Roca is back in again. What's up, Josh?
What's going on, Josh?
And Real T. Jordan's back in again. So it's quite a few people. Those are the ones that I can just see right now. But I know quite a few people have been floating in and out of the room here.
Good test on the Twitter feed. We appreciate all you guys tuning in. YouTube, as always. Facebook, as always. Jason, I see all your comments. You're right, man. Bucks wideouts are good. The humidity down there is going to be tough for the Steelers. I think that the Bucks bite off a little bit more than they can chew, in my opinion, this week. Scott's got it going the other way, so we'll see what happens. Marcel, appreciate you tuning in. I see you, buddy. Thanks for watching, as always.
I think Jason's probably rolling his he's rolling around right now the fact that I'm saying the Bucs are going to win. He knows I give him crap with the Bucs all the time.
All right, moving on. Staying in football, we're going to talk a little Terps football. Terps lose to Temple at home in a pretty upsetting loss for the Terps. They lose 35-14. This is a game that the Terps went in as big favorites. They went in as, I think, 15-point favorites going into the game. But look, the Terps offense right now is one-dimensional. And Temple knew that coming into the game.
Yeah, they did, and they took advantage of it.
Exactly. They loaded the box. When you're averaging, 293 yards per game on the ground, and you're not throwing the ball, if you're any kind of smart coach, you're going to do that. You're going to line up in the box and say, you know what? Beat me with your arm. The quarterback's going to have to beat me because we're not going to let the running game beat us. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah. I mean, overall, Kasim Hill he was 7 for 17 with only 56 yards.
Yeah.
They just stifled him. Then you have Tyrell Pigrome, or as you call Piggy.
Yeah.
1 for 4 7 yards. And neither of these guys, while it's only 4 for Piggy and 17 for Kasim Hill, they just could not get it off.
No.
And that was just we're just talking right now on the offensive side of the ball. There was more on the defense, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But what did you see out of this offense? What was it that they were struggling with so bad, other than the passing game?
Again, I mean, that's it. Temple loaded the box and gave fits to the Terps running backs all game long. Look, Terps had 195 total offensive yards to the Owls 429 yards. They had 50 yards rushing. Talking about the Terps, they had 50 yards rushing through the third. They had a couple of long gains there in the fourth quarter, which bumped their yardage up to 132. But they only had 50 yards rushing through 3 quarters. This is a team that was averaging 293 yards in the first 2 weeks going into the game. This is crucial. I mean, again, we talked about this last week. If the Terps want to be a bowl-eligible team and get back to a bowl, they've got to win these games that they're supposed to win. This was, I don't want to say it was a layup game for the Terps, because Temple has been good, especially in recent years. But this was a game, when you looked at it on paper, you thought the Terps should handily win this. They're at home. And the way that the offense had looked for the first 2 weeks, you would have thought they would have handled this. But again, as you mentioned, not just did they struggle on the offensive side, what did you see defensively?
Oh, defensively, the defensive backs were getting burned. There was the one open pass that they got burned. The guy was wide open by 10 yards.
Yeah.
That should not happen at all. I know that it's college. I know these guys are still learning, but at the same time, you have to be in the proper coverage. You've got to be knowing, who you're supposed to be covering, because the cornerback, he looked like he was coming up to cover the guy in the slot, and he was supposed to be going with the guy on the end.
Yeah, and when you can't stop a team on third down, you're going to lose most football games. The Owls were 6 of 17 on third down, whereas the Terps were 1 of 12.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the story of the game there. I mean, you've got to extend drives, and when you get to third down as a defense, you gotta tighten up. And as you mentioned, the Terps caught out of position on a few plays, burned by the big play, burned by a few interceptions, returned for touchdowns.
But
just an ugly game.
Let's not forget that the reason this wasn't even more of a blowout than it was because the defense had a pick 6. So there's a plus there, because if they don't have that pick 6, this is a 35-7 game.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So the defense plays a huge role in making this game a 2-score game instead of a 3-score game. Or I'm sorry, more than that. It's 4-score game. But the other thing that they were able to do is they were able to punch the ball in. Temple was able to run the ball. They weren't just able to throw the ball. They had both sides of the game working. I have to give credit where credit is due. When you throw a 330-pound lineman in at fullback and hand him the ball,
fridge.
He wasn't a fridge. He was a damn freight train, man. Nobody was going to stop him.
Yeah, it's like Refrigerator Perry back in the day for the Bears, man. That's a big man, 330 pounds. That's a big dude.
Well, and then him popping back up, right after he goes in, pops right back up. He's bouncing around. Man. You go, dude. You go on that. I gotta bring it up. Ryan on Facebook is saying, Darnell Savage looks to be the next NFL talent.
Yeah, absolutely. He's looked good so far. Been pretty impressive. I like what I see out of him. Hopefully, he can continue that through the year. And he'll definitely he's the next one in line out of what we've got so far.
Ryan brings up a good point. Block punt was the other team.
Yeah, right. Sloppy game for the Terps, but this week they come home against Minnesota, which Minnesota 3-0 on the year has given us fits in the past, but this opens up Big Ten play. This is a game that, again, kind of a question mark going into it, whether the Terps can beat Minnesota. This is a game that they've got to win, and they've got to make up for that loss against Temple because, like I said, once you get to the likes of Michigan and Ohio State and Wisconsin, these are teams that you can pretty much chalk up as L's.
Yeah. I mean, unless you turn something around, you turn some kind of corner, and you're able to find some type of hole in their defenses or in their offenses, you're not. I hate to say it, but you're not going to be able to compete, especially if you're competing against teams like Temple at this level. I do find it interesting that I think the last time we faced Temple, we also lost. It was at Temple though, and then last time with Texas, we beat Texas.
I think the last time we lost to Temple, Tavon Young was playing for Temple at that point, if I remember correctly. So
I think you may be right on that.
Yeah. Moving on. Scott,
do we have to? Why? Guys, I am so sorry that we have to do this segment every week. No, I'm not, but at the same time, I am. I'm sorry you have to hear us just say the same stuff again and again and again.
I love my Birds. I ride or die with my Orioles, win or lose. But golly, can this season just end already? I mean, it's like the never-ending nightmare of a season. We kind of talked about it earlier on in the year. We did the whole Dan Duquette debate and Buck Showalter debate. Should they come back? What should be the proper moves going into next year and all that kind of stuff with front office and with management and coaching. I'm just to the point, let's just clean house altogether. Let's start fresh, bring in new faces. There needs to be a new GM in town that hires his own manager. We got to start from scratch here.
It's it's ridiculous, guys. Since last week, we've gone 2-5. That's a celebration, guys. Two wins out of 7.
We are one loss away from setting a franchise record for losses in a year.
Yeah, only because we tied it last night.
One loss away from a franchise record. The Orioles have been here since what? Was it 54? I think they came here 52 or 54.
52 or 53, I think. Okay. I don't know why 53 is coming out of my mind, but I think it's 52 or 53.
So they've been here like 70 plus years. And we're about to set the single worst season in franchise history. Unreal.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And, with that being said, we're going up against 3 teams who are fighting for the playoffs. Boston could clinch tonight with a win.
Nikki says, put me in, coach. I'd much rather see you play at this point, Nikki. At least that would be entertaining. I'd go pay and watch that.
I'd put her in and put her opposite hand that she actually throws with. She might do better.
I can tell you what, Nikki's in better shape than DJ Stewart is right now.
Oh, my God, man.
God, that guy. Phew.
You talk about Sidney Ponson look-alike.
He's a Tootsie Roll away from an anabolic shock.
Dude, he pitched what? He pitched, I think, 2/3 of an inning back on the 8th. Then they had give him a start. He goes 1 2/3 and has to be pulled out for pulling a hammy. Yeah. Running to first base. You pulled a hammy running to first base.
Did you say ham? I like ham. He needs to stay away from the sweets. He needs to stay away from the junk food. Boy, he reminds me of Pete Incaviglia. You remember him?
Yeah.
Back in the day. Sir Chunks a lot, man. Golly.
He looks like Sidney Ponson, though, and he's had too many drinks.
Yeah. Well, if you go back and look at pictures of him last year,
he didn't look like that.
No, I mean, he's put on an easy 40 or 50 pounds. You know, for me, 40 or 50 pounds, hey, what the hell does it matter? I'm, some fat guy doing a podcast in a bedroom, right? 40 or 50 pounds to a professional athlete, either that just means you've got a serious problem or you just don't take your profession serious enough.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it wasn't. We were mixing up names. I just realized that. DJ Stewart is in the outfield.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking the hammy. The hammy was Luis Ortiz. I was completely.
I thought you knew something that I didn't know.
I'm looking at the wrong note. I was my fault. I'm looking at the wrong daggone note. Well, but that's the other guy. So Luis Ortiz pulls a hammy, and DJ Stewart, he's in left field. I was there his game the other night where he went 0 for 3 on his debut. He's 0 for 13 so far with a walk and a strikeout.
But he was hitting 235 at AAA anyway. Did you expect anything more?
Yeah. You pulled a guy that was hitting 235 in AAA, but you won't pull up the guy who's hitting, what? I think he's up to almost 3. I think he's at 330 now on Usnell Diaz.
Yeah.
I think he's hitting 330 in AA Bowie, but you don't want to pull him up because Bowie's trying to win a championship. Shut the heck up and get out of here.
I know you've got some opinions on that. I'll let you take the floor on that one.
Yeah, look, here's the deal, guys. I got into it with a fan at the game the other day, and I say got into it. It was a healthy discussion from the guy, but the guy's like, this guy DJ Stewart, hopefully he'll be good. And I started spouting off DJ Stewart's stats. And the guy was like, oh. And I'm like, but yet we put Usnell Diaz, we keep him down there in AA Bowie instead of bringing him up to see what he can do and give him a roster invite. And he's well, we got to do something positive in this league. We, or with this team. We're looking at the fact that we're not getting anywhere. We need to get some type of championship, so Bowie would be great. Great. Bowie would be great to get a championship, but you're sacrificing a championship in AA ball to bring a guy up to look at to see if he can go against some of the best guys in the league. Let's look at who he's going to be going against. He's going to be going against Boston. He's getting ready to go against New York. Right now they're going against the Jays, which is the Jays, but still Boston, New York, two teams that are fighting. As I said, Boston can clinch tonight. New York's in the hunt for the wild card, and Houston's winning their division, and Oakland was right behind them. Why not bring this kid up and see what he can do against a guy like Sabathia, against a guy like Verlander? These guys are going to be who they're pitching against. Why not give him a damn shot? It's ridiculous. Stop playing this game.
You feel better now?
No, I'm still angry about it.
I know you've been bottling that up now for probably 2 weeks. I think you wanted to get into it a little bit more last week.
Oh my God. It just drives me crazy.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, at this point, what the hell does a AA championship mean to the organization? It should mean absolutely nothing. The most important thing is your final product, which is your major league team. And at this point, you should be evaluating every single piece of talent that you have.
Yeah.
And anything that's going to be a part of your future moving forward, get them up here, get them their playing time while it doesn't cost them any kind of penalties or it doesn't cost them any kind of contract or future years or anything like that. Austin Hayes should be up here. Usnell Diaz should be up here. Ryan Mountcastle should be up here. I could go on with players that should be up here at least getting a taste of major league pitching and seeing what it's like. I mean, I get it. There's the whole theatrics and all that stuff with a major league debut and all that. And what are they going in front of? 200 fans right now that are down there.
We're going to get to that in a second.
It's pitiful with how many fans are actually showing up to these games. I'm not one of them, so I can't really say too much. But it's mind-boggling to me. I feel like we're a broken record because we say this all the time. But at some point,
for God's sake, Adam Jones said it was Cedric Mullins. Get the guy up and get him some at-bats. Get these guys up and get him. Who knows? If you pull Diaz up here and he starts hitting like Mullins, I'm not saying this is going to happen. But what if the combination of these two guys all of a sudden raise up this team a little bit and they push a team like Houston out of the playoffs?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to lead to anything next year. But I tell you what, you come in and you get brought up and you're productive enough to trigger this team to push another team out of contention, it's going to be talked about.
Yeah.
You're only helping, your own value as a team and, that player's value for all that, for all that matters. Speaking of high player values, you have the declaration that MLB finally.
Yeah. Finally.
Thank
you, Jesus.
Made with Victor Mesa and Victor Mesa Jr. They have now been declared
Give me all
eligible.
The Victors. I want all the Victors.
All the Victors, all the Mesas.
I want all the Victors.
Just give them all.
Victor. I'll take them all. This is something that we've been talking about for a while. We hope that that's the whole reason that the Orioles have been kind of collecting all this international signing money. The Orioles are far ahead of all the other Major League Baseball teams with international money available. So we're hoping that there's maybe already a handshake deal in place. They're supposed to be in the next, I think, week or maybe a couple weeks. They're going to be doing like a showcase with the Mesas in front of a bunch of different Major League clubs. But at the end of the day, if the Orioles want them, the Orioles have the money to go get them.
Absolutely.
The only way that they don't end up here, it's not going to be financial. It's going to be because they don't want to be here and they're willing to take less money to go elsewhere.
Which is what scares a lot of fans.
Which could very well happen. I'm not saying it can't happen, but when you're coming from where they're coming from and that kind of thing, that kind of money, the difference in that kind of money, especially when there's no guarantees. The brother, I think, is only 16, so you have no idea what he's going to project out to be over the next couple of years. Yes, Victor, he's 21 or 22 at this point, so you want to see him at the major league level in the next 2 to 3 years at the longest.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to get these guys in and get them under contract. I'm excited. I'm hoping that happens, but we'll see. I hope that they have some interest in this team, maybe more so than, like we said, the fans have much of an interest in this team. What was it? Last Monday or no Monday? It was a Monday in April, where they had a low attendance record of
April 9th.
7,915 fans versus the Jays.
Last night against the Jays, 8,198.
Mind you, there's no way in hell there's 8,198 people actually in those seats. That's paid. No. That's paid attendance. That's bought tickets. How many tickets are on StubHub? How many tickets are people trying to give away on Facebook? How many tickets do you know of people in your neighborhood that can't get rid of their tickets? The last couple of games, they're lucky if they have 2,000 or 3,000 people in those stands.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I looked up the stuff actually today when I saw the attendance for last night, because they didn't publish the attendance, but they did say on the audio radio show that was the fact that they actually invited every fan to sit in any seat that they wanted in the stadium. Right. I would have gone up into a suite if it were me. Hey, you told me I could sit in any seat. Right. I want the suite seat.
John chimes in and says the Orioles are going to manage to find the Dominican Chris Davis. Would not surprise me.
Wouldn't surprise us.
Wouldn't surprise me one bit.
But yeah, these two attendance, record lows. We have 2 in 1 year. The prior year low was from 2010, April 12th, 2010, against the Rays, 9,129.
Yeah.
We almost wiped that by 1,000 twice.
Right.
It's and it's because of the product on the field. I know that there's people out there that blame the fans, and I've heard some players blame the fans. I don't care. Product on the field matters first. I sat through with season tickets with my dad. My dad and I sat through all those rough years. We're still sitting there. I'm going to the game tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But you know what? You can take that idea and you can shove it. If you're not going to put a product on the field that is worth people coming out, remember, this is an entertainment.
Yeah.
And if you don't get fans, those teams die.
I'm telling you right now, if the Orioles had Austin Hayes, Ryan Mountcastle, Yusniel Diaz, these guys up here I would be going to these games and watching these games. Win or lose doesn't matter. Just to see what the future product would look like.
Exactly.
I'd be going. These makeshift moves that they're making and these 4A players that aren't going to be a part of the team, nobody wants to watch that.
No,
I don't even want to watch it on TV anymore. Like, it's gotten to that point, and I have the Orioles tattooed on my arm. Like,
so do I.
I am a ride or die, like, diehard Oriole fan, and I just can't find it in me to turn it off the home garden network to watch the Orioles. I'd rather watch trees grow.
Fred, we got to have a talk if that's what you're watching instead of the Orioles.
I'm just trying to say, man, that's how bad it's gotten.
James bring up a good point. I thought this was a great move. I loved they did this, but the Bring Your Dog night was the biggest night over the past week and a half, outside of giveaways. So that's the case, and you got giveaways coming up at the end of the year, so that they're going to get packed. By the way, 1.4 is where they're at over the past 20 plus years. I think it was. I had to go back to. I think I actually had to go back further than that. I think I had to go back to 1970 something in order to find an attendance that was lower than 1.6 million. We have 4, 5, 6 games left in the season.
Wow.
Ain't no way we're hitting 1.6 million.
No way.
This could be a record low for this team in the modern era, and especially in the Camden Yards era. But let's move on. We got to hit on. We got to hit.
God.
We got to hit on our fantasy touch. Birdland BS League. You and I went at it this week.
If that's what you want to call it.
You edged me out by 10 points. Leave me alone.
It was 11.
And it was because, you know what? I'm calling conspiracy right here on air.
Conspiracy? Because you made a stupid decision?
I pulled Ben Roethlisberger out because they said he wasn't going to be playing. His question was questionable. I pull him out, and I was over here helping you with your TV and hang your brand new TV when I got the message on my phone while I was helping you do it, so I didn't see it, that Ben Roethlisberger was going to be playing.
That was a questionable decision. I have him in another league. I didn't bench him and put him back in. He stayed in my lineup, and you know what?
Who was your backup?
He lit it up for me.
Who was your backup?
I don't even know.
Exactly.
All these teams run together. I have no freaking clue. Either way, I was able to pull out the victory against Scott, 112-101. That puts me at 2-0 in the season. Scott,
0-2.
0-2. Redheaded Ryan had his matchup with Troy. If you're still there on YouTube, we appreciate you tuning in. Troy, you got manhandled, my friend. Doesn't do you any justice. I mean, you still put up 101 points, but Ryan had a beast of a game. The Hewitts back-to-back with Christie winning week 1 for highest scoring team. Ryan wins week 2 with his Garnet Thor scoring 167 points. Dude had, I mean, probably the most exciting player in the NFL right now in Pat Mahomes. He had 39 fantasy points, throwing pretty much all day long to anyone and anybody. And a good target for him was Travis Kelce, who he also had, who had 27 points. And then he had Matt Breida, the rookie in San Fran, who had 24 points, just to highlight a couple guys. Big win for Ryan. That puts him at 1-1 on the season. I got a bunch of tight games in this league. Gene beat Christie in marginal. I mean, literally won this by 1 point.
Yeah.
112-111. Joe beating your boy Brian in, again, the final calls of a game at 130-127.
3 points, man. And we're not even including the decimal points here, people.
Yeah. So 2-0, we got PJ, the quiet assassin. I'm telling you, that guy, anytime he's in a fantasy football league, the Yahoo will say his draft was horrible, but he always ends up doing well. PJ sitting at 2-0. I am sitting at 2-0. Gene, who made the mistake of not even knowing that week 1 started and didn't put in a starting quarterback. He had Carson Wentz playing week 1, who got a fat 0 because he wasn't activated. Won, and he is 2-0, as is Jess, which we all gave a hard time with her draft, but here she sits at 2-0, and Scott, Brian, Troy, and James. James, I hate to give you a hard time. We love you, man, but 0-2 to start the season. It's a long season.
We all like to come from behind. That's all. That's all.
It's a long season, so we'll see. In our Baltimore league, we did suffer. Scott and I suffered our first loss of the year.
I got to tip my cat to Matt Stevens. Follow him on Twitter at Matthew S. _NFL. He had some guys go off. He had some good picks.
Yeah, I mean, we were two of the highest scoring teams in the league. He just ended up outscoring us a little bit. Matt Stevens, he's of the Ravens Wire and co-host of Locked On Ravens. Like he said, go follow him on Twitter. We ended up losing to Matt 154-141 in another tight game. Matt had Kirk Cousins, who had 37 points, Melvin Gordon, who tore it up in the first half against Buffalo at 29 points, and he had Juju Smith-Schuster, who lit it up for the Steelers with 31 points. This week, we take on Chibs. Michael Telford of Russell Street Report and Neutral Zone Infraction Podcast. Chibs is 1-1 on the season, right there with us. Projections have us pulling this one off 123-116, but
as
again,
we learned last week, that didn't count. That didn't matter.
Absolutely nothing. None of those projections mean shit when it comes to fantasy football. So we'll see how that works out.
So is Chibs going to come back on if we beat him?
I don't know. Chibs seems like one of those guys that would kind of hold grudges. So I don't know. We might have to like ease off on him for a couple weeks.
We'll give him a hard time and then let it go.
That's right. We'll see.
And now it's time for the 2-minute warning.
All right, Fred. This week is your week. Your 2-minute warning is probably the longest 2-minute warning I think we've seen in a while.
I'm a fast reader, Scott.
You better be fast if you're going to get through all these.
I don't know if I'm going to get through all of them, but I'd rather have too much than not enough, so we'll see.
All right, man. Well, this week is your week, and your 2-minute warning starts meow.
In boxing, there was a pretty big title fight over the weekend. Canelo Alvarez and Triple G fought for the middleweight title, and in what many are saying could have easily gone the other way, Canelo wins the title by decision from Triple G. This is their second controversial go-to-the-judge decision in as many fights. Judges say Canelo landed more damaging shots with his power and accuracy, whereas Triple G was more about high output and low damage.
Still controversial. I think Triple G won.
The NFL is moving closer and closer to becoming a flag football league. Packers linebacker Clay Matthews was flagged for roughing the passer on a crucial fourth quarter drive that allowed Minnesota in range to tie the football game and force overtime. Words cannot do this hit any justice. It was as clean a tackle as you can make. You cannot draw it up any better when teaching proper tackling technique. If you haven't seen the hit, Google search it. It's unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. What could get worse for the Buffalo Bills than being blown out in your first 2 games of the season? Maybe we should ask Vontae Davis. Vontae came in during halftime of their game against the Chargers. Didn't fake an injury. Didn't go off on players in the locker room. Nope. He decided to retire mid-game. Retire from the league. Not retire from the game. Retire from the league. Pretty bizarre situation, to say the least. The wheels might be falling off for good in Pittsburgh. Steelers star wide receiver Antonio Brown didn't show up for work on Monday. Steelers are saying it was due to a personal concern. Many others see through the smoke and saw AB visibly frustrated on the sidelines on Sunday, yelling at coaches and throwing his helmet, and even went at a media member through Twitter on Sunday with the remark, "Trade me, let's see what happens." Yep, I want a front row to this.
Yeah.
Staying in Pennsylvania, the Eagles are getting their superstar quarterback Carson Wentz back for Week 3. It's pretty amazing how fast this guy's recovered from such a gruesome ACL and LCL tear that he suffered in Week 10 of last season. Eagles currently at 1-1 and couldn't be more excited to get their leader back. You're right. I didn't get through the majority of that stuff. I still had a few things left. But that's all right. They will wait. They will wait for next week, and that's okay.
I'm glad, by the way, you brought up that Clay match thing. Guys, go check out that clean hit.
If you have not seen that video, please go check that out.
Did you see the hit, by the way, or the video, by the way, of Deion Sanders going off on Shannon Sharp and LaDainian Tomlinson?
I have not.
Oh, yeah, going off about it, and then it was on, I think it was NFL like Game Day Prime or whatever, and he basically said, look across all the networks. What do you see? You see offensive players. You don't hear from us defensive guys, and I'm telling you, that's a clean tackle. And LaDainian Tomlinson was like, well, he grabbed him and kind of lifted him up a little bit. And he was like, really?
Bull BS. I'm going to go there. BS.
Exactly.
It was as clean as you can't tackle high in this league. You can't tackle low in this league. And apparently you can't use your shoulder and tackle right at the waistline in this league. It was literally how you draw up a tackle. If you were to teach fundamentals of tackling and teaching kids how to tackle right, this is what you draw up.
If you talk to Shannon Sharp and LaDainian Tomlinson, they literally said he was exaggerating, Deion was, but he said, should I just lay him down like this? And he grabbed a book. And
that's what I'm saying.
They were like, well, yeah. And he was like, no, that's not how this game is played. It's not how it's ever been played historically. I know we're trying to be player safety, but this is what I was talking about last week when I did it with the hit on for the guy for Cincinnati. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but with that hit, it was a little questionable. But this is starting to become like this abstract painting instead of a thin line of here's what's good, here's what's okay, here's what's not. Now it's interpretation.
We've talked about it before. I'm all for making the league safer, and you can do that by making equipment better. But when you start taking things like this, fundamental tackling out of the game, and you start throwing flags on perfect form tackles,
it's ridiculous.
It's ruining the game, and it's really, really unfortunate at this point.
Well, episode 63 is in the book, guys. After a Bengal beatdown, we're going to prepare for the Broncos.
Come on, running game.
We're going to tame those Broncos, hopefully. But we want to remind all of you guys to check us out on our website, www.Birdland BS. While you're there, you can see all of our episodes. You can learn about each of us. You can reach out and contact us. And don't forget to check out the Birdland BS gear on Squad Locker. That is the representative that helps us out with that. You can put your name on it, everything like that. It's awesome. You can check us out on birdlandsports.com too. We're working with them and some other sports podcasters along with some writers. There's enough content there for you for every day of the week, and it's for fans by fans. It's a great way. Go check it out. Follow us on all of our social media sites. All you got to do is look for Birdland BS. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram. Once you're there, like, follow, subscribe, share, be a part of Birdland BS Nation. To do that, you can also use the hashtag BLBS Nation, and you let us know what you want to hear us talk about. It'll come up on the show. We talk about it all the time. So as always, be sure to also check out the audio podcast on Spotify, iTunes, or Google Podcasts. Or if you have another app of choice, check us out there. As always, thanks for tuning in. We're going to be back next Tuesday, 8:45, and now we're on 3 platforms.
Yep.
Share this. Let's get 1,000 views, and let's get somebody a Birdland BS package. For Birdland BS, I'm Scott.
I'm Fred.
See you guys.
See you.